After my father's funeral, I made a decision about the $3 million inheritance. I would split it between my mother and myself. Jack, without asking, rummaged through the inheritance documents. His eyes gleamed as he turned to me and said, "Kelly, don't be too greedy. Finally, I can quit my job. I have to thank that doddering old man." Doddering old man? Are you talking about my dad? The words escaped my lips before I could stop them. Ignoring my reaction, Jack and his mother eagerly discussed buying a new car and going on a shopping spree. Watching them so shamelessly celebrate my father's death, my anger boiled over. I had reached my breaking point. For years, I had shouldered the burden of household chores, been pressured for money, and now, they had the audacity to insult my father. I couldn't take it anymore. Forcing a smile, I simply said, "Sure, feel free to use the money however you and your mother please." My name is Kelly Cohan, a 38-year-old housewife who once worked alongside my husband. I grew up as the only child of two devoted doctors who ran a reputable clinic in our hometown. My parents had high hopes that I would follow in their footsteps, but after graduating from the School of Pharmacy, I pursued a career in a major pharmaceutical company instead. Though slightly disappointed, they respected my choice. 10 years ago, tragedy struck when my mother died in a sudden accident. My father and I were devastated. During those dark times, Jack, then my boyfriend, was my pillar of support. We had met through a mutual friend, and 2 years after my mother's passing, he proposed. Jack was an ordinary salaryman in the food and beverage industry. Though I earned significantly more than him, I believed that love, not money, was the foundation of a happy marriage. My father was thrilled when I shared the news. "I've heard how Jack has supported you, Kelly. Thank you so much. Please continue to take care of her," he told him. Standing tall, Jack promised, "I will make her happy." With Jack by my side, I felt genuinely happy. A week later, we visited his family home to announce our engagement. His mother, heavily made up and divorced from his father, scrutinized me coldly. "Marriage, huh? So you're Jack's choice? Isn't she a little plain for your taste? And she's older, right? Wouldn't a younger, prettier girl be better?" Before I could react, Jack quickly interjected, "Mom, you know M Pharmaceuticals, right? Kelly works there. Her father is a doctor and owns his practice." I had expected Jack to praise my character, but instead, he emphasized my financial stability. At that, his mother's expression changed instantly. "Oh, Jack, you should have told me that sooner. That changes everything. I happily approve of the marriage. Nice to meet you, Kelly." "Thank you," I replied, though unease crept into my heart. Despite my growing doubts, our wedding plans moved forward. Just before we registered our marriage, my father, who had also invested in real estate, gifted me a luxury apartment in New York City. "Dad gave us this apartment as a wedding gift," I told Jack. "It's our new home. Let's live here happily together." Jack beamed, "Of course." And so, our married life began. But the happiness didn't last. I soon discovered that Jack, who had lived with his parents his entire life, was practically incapable of handling household chores. He couldn't cook, didn't know how to use a washing machine, and left his trash lying around without a care. At first, I took on all the responsibilities, chalking it up to our honeymoon phase, but by the second year of marriage, exhaustion from work and endless chores left me drained. I finally confronted him about sharing the workload. Jack's response? A dismissive shrug. "I'm tired from work too. You're better at it, so it's easier if you just do everything." That was it. No gratitude, no attempt to compromise. From that moment on, Jack barely lifted a finger around the house. But the household chores were only part of the problem. I also had to deal with his mother. For our first Mother's Day, I carefully selected a high-quality scarf and a bouquet of carnations, but when she received the gift, she called me, clearly displeased. "A no-name brand? Are you serious? If you're going to give me something, at least make sure it's from a luxury label." Shocked, I tried to explain that the scarf was excellent quality, but she wouldn't hear it. From that point on, she demanded cash instead of gifts. When I told Jack about it, hoping for support, he merely shrugged. "What's the big deal? Just give her what she wants." And so, the cash handouts began. By our 5th year of marriage, Jack's mother started visiting frequently, always with a new excuse to ask for money. Jack, without hesitation, handed it over each time. Although I had a stable job, Jack's income was modest. Our financial situation became increasingly tight. I had to dip into our savings just to keep us afloat. Still, I endured it all. She's his mother, I told myself, the woman who raised him. If she's important to him, I can tolerate this. Now, 8 years into our marriage, I find myself in the same exhausting cycle, managing all the household responsibilities while funding my mother-in-law's endless demands. But after today, after Jack's shameless reaction to my father's passing, I've reached my limit. Something has to change. And this time, I won't be the one making sacrifices. One day, in the middle of my usual routine, I received an unexpected call from my father, someone I hadn't seen in a long time. His voice carried a weight I wasn't prepared for, and when we finally met, the news he shared shattered me. I have terminal cancer, he said. There's nothing more the doctors can do. The words hit me like a tidal wave, knocking the breath from my lungs. Tears welled up and spilled down my cheeks as my father reached out, gently stroking my head like he used to when I was a child. "Kelly, this is fate," he murmured. "Let's accept it quietly." "But, why, Dad? Why you?" My voice trembled with disbelief. From that moment, my days became a delicate balancing act, juggling work, household responsibilities, and hospital visits. My job allowed some flexibility, but keeping up with everything at home was overwhelming. When I told Jack I'd be caring for my father, I expected at least some support. Instead, all he said was, "Well, it's tough, but do your best." That was it. No offer to help, no words of comfort. He visited my father only once. I was too consumed with my father's care to dwell on Jack's indifference. If I had any energy left, I wanted to spend it with my father, not worrying about my husband's lack of concern. One evening, as I sat by my father's hospital bed, he suddenly asked, "Kelly, how's your marriage with Jack?" The question caught me off guard. My mind flashed to Jack's cold attitude, to his mother's meddling ways. I hesitated. I didn't know how to answer, but my father saw through my silence. "Kelly, you don't have to endure," he said gently. "Think about your own happiness, and don't worry, you won't struggle after I'm gone." His words broke me. I wept as he held my hand, his grip strong despite his frailty. 3 months later, the inevitable happened. My father passed away peacefully. The grief was crushing, but I had no time to fully process it. I had to handle the funeral arrangements. Jack, unsurprisingly, showed no interest in helping. He barely acknowledged my pain. Still, I pushed forward, grateful that so many friends and acquaintances came to bid my father farewell. Even Jack and his mother attended, though their presence felt hollow. The day after the funeral, I received a call from my father's lawyer. When we met, the truth of my father's estate stunned me. After taxes, he had left me an inheritance of over $3 million. He had worked not only as a doctor but had also invested wisely in real estate, securing a future for me that I never expected. Gratitude and disbelief mixed within me as I listened to the lawyer's explanation. The responsibility of handling such a large sum was daunting, but I resolved to honor my father's legacy. When I returned home, exhausted, I spread the legal documents across the table and collapsed onto the couch, drifting into an uneasy nap. I woke to the sound of laughter. Jack and his mother's voices floated through the air, unusually cheerful. "Huh, Jack? Mother, when did you get here?" I rubbed my eyes, still groggy. Jack beamed at me, an excitement in his expression that felt out of place. "Kelly, well done." Confused, I noticed the documents in his hands, my father's inheritance papers. "Wait, you went through those without asking?" I snapped, my exhaustion giving way to anger. Jack ignored me. My mother-in-law, grinning, clapped her hands together. $3 million, isn't that amazing? Now we can live in luxury for the rest of our lives." I stiffened. "We?" Jack cleared his throat, looking serious. "By the way, about this money. I've decided it'll be split between me and my mom." My breath caught. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. He waved a dismissive hand. "Don't be greedy, Kelly, this is a huge amount." "Oh, and now I can finally quit my job. I have to thank that old geezer for that." I froze. "Old geezer? Are you talking about my father?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. Jack shrugged, unfazed. "Anyway, let's transfer the money to our joint account as soon as possible." My mother-in-law was already making plans. "We should go shopping. Oh, and maybe a new car." They laughed, completely detached from my grief. A slow, simmering rage built within me. For years, they had treated me like a servant, piling household responsibilities onto me, demanding money, showing nothing but selfishness, and now, They were desecrating my father's memory, treating his final gift to me as their personal windfall. I forced a smile, my voice eerily calm. Sure, spend it however you like. Jack and his mother exchanged delighted glances. My mother-in-law patted my shoulder. That's a good girl, just keep working hard, okay? We wouldn't want our savings to run low. I nodded. I let them believe they had won. And then, I watched. Jack immediately quit his job. My mother-in-law all but moved in. Every day, they went on lavish shopping sprees, returning with armfuls of luxury brand bags. They whined about expensive restaurants. They treated me like hired help. They burned through my hard-earned savings, pulling from our joint account while they waited for the big money to arrive. I warned Jack, I've already stopped it. He laughed. What are you talking about? The $3 million is coming soon. What's a little spending in the meantime? A month later, they left for Hawaii, without me. The moment they were gone, I took action. A week later, I sat in the quiet of my home, finally at peace, when a loud banging on the front door shattered the silence. I checked the intercom. There they were, Jack and his mother, still in their Hawaiian shirts, looking furious. I took a deep breath, steeling myself, then, with a cold calmness, I spoke into the speaker. What do you want? Perplexed by the locked door, Jack's voice crackled through the intercom. What the hell, why won't the door open? I responded with unwavering confidence. Well, I changed the locks. Naturally, you can't get in. What? Why? Jack's outrage was palpable. Let's discuss this somewhere else, calmly. There's a cafe nearby. Head there first, and I'll join you shortly, I suggested. Jack and his mother continued their outburst at the entrance, but eventually, they realized it was futile. With no other choice, they left for the cafe. I waited a moment, then followed. When I arrived, their fury was unmistakable. Hey, what's going on? Jack demanded the moment I sat down. Did you seriously change the locks? Give me the new keys, now. I met his glare with complete composure. There's no need for that. You and your mother need to move out. Jack's anger intensified, but before he could lash out, I placed a document on the table in front of him. His eyes darted to it, scanning the words in disbelief. A divorce petition, already filled out. Divorce? You're serious? Jack's voice cracked. His mother, equally stunned, stammered, Kelly, why? I spoke quietly, yet firmly, as they panicked. By the way, with how recklessly you've been spending, are you sure your finances are in order? Jack scoffed, dismissing my words with a sneer. What money? We're fine. My father-in-law's inheritance is coming, isn't it? There should still be over $50,000 in our joint account. Look, I'll show you right now. With a smug expression, he pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. Then, his face went pale. What? Where's the money? It was there just the other day. His mother, alarmed, checked her own phone. A similar expression of horror crossed her face. I watched their reactions with quiet satisfaction before dropping the final blow. Of course, it's gone. Since I'm divorcing you, I moved that $50,000 into my personal account as part of the property division. Jack's face turned beet red. You can't do that. But then, as if recalling something, he suddenly smirked. Fine, I'll divorce you, but don't forget, you need to split your inheritance with me. Property gained during marriage is shared, right? I arched a brow. Oh, you seem to be mistaken. Jack's smirk faltered. What do you mean? I leaned in slightly. Inheritance isn't considered marital property, it belongs solely to the recipient. Silence. Jack and his mother stared at me, their faces draining of color. It was clear now, they had truly believed they would get a share of my father's inheritance. No, that's not possible, his mother whispered, her hands trembling. Feel free to look it up, I said with a smirk. Jack frantically typed on his phone, scrolling through legal articles. When he found the truth, his expression crumbled. Inheritance received by one spouse remains separate property, not subject to division in a divorce, he read aloud in horror. His mother gasped. What? That can't be right. Jack, his bravado shattered, turned to me with desperation in his eyes. Kelly, please, don't do this. I have no savings, no job. How am I supposed to survive if you leave me? I met his gaze without hesitation. That's not my problem. Take responsibility for your actions. I'll never forget how you treated me. His mother opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off. I'm divorcing you. Fight it in court if you want, but I guarantee you won't win. Faced with a version of me they had never seen before, Jack and his mother shrank back, stunned into silence. Without another word, I stood up and left the cafe. The divorce proceedings went smoothly. The $50,000 I had transferred was legally recognized as part of the marital property division. Soon, I evicted Jack and his mother from my home. It wasn't long before Jack squandered what little money he had left. His lavish lifestyle had left him drowning in credit card debt, with bills from overseas trips piling up. With nowhere else to turn, he and his mother were forced to move into a rundown apartment, barely scraping by. As for me, I sold the condo we once shared and moved into my father's old apartment. With my inheritance and a stable job, I now live comfortably, free from the weight of my past. I carry my father's memory with gratitude, determined to embrace my new beginning. From now on, I will protect my happiness. And I will live my life in peace.